guys, it's Trina and this is my list of favorite audiobooks that I listened to in 2017. And I do have a video up called All-Time Favorite Audiobooks, which encompasses like everything from 2016 and prior to that. So if you're wanting to know more of my favorites, definitely check out that video. I will link it below. I will link the playlist of my audiobooks reviews videos down below too, in case you want to know about everything that I listened to this year, not just my top favorites. But this year I read a total of 88 books, and 40 of those were audiobooks that I listened to. I've got 7 favorite audiobooks of the year, and I do have these listed in a ranked order. And number 7 is the audiobook of Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy, and this one was narrated by Therese Plummer. This one is a YA contemporary romance. The main character is an own voices bisexual character. There is a really heavy romantic aspect to this book, but there's also like a great emphasis on family and friendships and like the small town, and it is set in a beach town, so this one is one that I would definitely recommend for like a summer read. It does have those vibes. I think that this book was amazing overall, story-wise and character-wise, and it very narrowly missed making my favorite books in general of the year, but the audiobook is definitely something that stood out to me because the narrator just really brought these characters to life. I felt like she just injected just enough personality to where it wasn't anything over the top, it wasn't anything annoying, but it just felt very real and it brought the characters to life. This one is definitely one that stood out to me as a contemporary audiobook. I really enjoyed the narration and the story itself. And number 6 is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzi, and this one was narrated by Coulson, and he is the actor that played the young Tom Riddle in the Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets movie, so you might recognize his voice from that. He did such an amazing job with this audiobook. This is a YA historical romance, and it's following a main character who is bisexual and he has a crush on his male best friend, but he and his best friend and his sister are about to embark on this like tour of Europe, and they get robbed and their tour kind of goes off the rails and they just go on this adventure. The thing that really made it to me is that the main character was written with such a distinct personality and such a sense of humor, and the narrator Coulson really brings that out. Like, that audiobook is full of personality, and I did think that at times the plot dragged on a little bit more than it needed to, but like just listening to him reading this story was so worth it, and it made the book like that much better to me because the narration was just amazing. My 5th favorite audiobook I listened to this year was 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. It has 2 narrators, Debra Wiseman and Joel Johnstone. It is YA contemporary about a girl who killed herself, and she left behind 13 cassette tapes that she sends to 13 people that explain the 13 reasons why she killed herself. Now, I absolutely know that this book is kind of controversial. Some people love it, some people hate it. They think that the representation of the suicide and how everything came to play is a little bit problematic, and I can totally see that. But I do want to say that the reason this is on my list is because of the format. This story was made for an audio format because it's about audio cassette tapes, and the main character who is narrating the story, he listens to the cassettes throughout the book, and so you're listening to the cassettes that Hannah left behind. So, story elements aside, what I am saying is that the audio quality of this one was just perfect for the story. Both of the narrators did a great job at bringing their characters to life. Both of them injected so much emotion into the story. Clay is reacting very emotionally to hearing these tapes, and then the girl who voices Hannah, you can really feel her pain. Like, they just did a really good job at acting and at narrating. So in terms of quality of the audiobook, this one is a favorite. I just think that this format suits it so well. At number 4, I've got 2 books that are part of the same series. I listened to both of these audiobooks this year. They are Every Heart a Doorway and Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan McGuire. And these books are about children who have found doorways to other fantasy worlds, and they've gone through them, they've found a place where they really fit in and they belong, and then when they're teenagers they're thrust back out into the real world and all they want to do is find a way back. The first book was narrated by Cynthia Hopkins, and then the second book was narrated by Seanan McGuire, the author herself. I really, really loved both narrators. Cynthia Hopkins, I thought, did a wonderful job. Her voicing just like really suited the tone and the setting of that first book, and so when I realized that the second book wasn't also narrated by her, I was a little bit bummed out. And then when I started listening to it, I was like, but Seanan McGuire does a great job too. So like they're both totally fantastic. The way that they read these books, like there's just like this tone and quality to their voices and to the narration that just suits the setting and suits the storytelling so well. Like they're darkly whimsical, and I absolutely have loved listening to these books. And number 3 is another overall series that I have really enjoyed listening to this year, and that is the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. I have listened to books 1 through 5, and I'm listening to the US versions of the audiobooks, which are narrated by Jim Dale. I have so enjoyed the listening experience because this is a series that I'm very familiar with. I've read and reread the books, I've seen the movies countless times, and so experiencing this really well-beloved and very well-known story in a new-to-me format is bringing it to life in a totally different way. I don't always love Jim Dale's voices for all of the characters, but it's not that he does a bad job with it, because he's got like hundreds of characters that he's got to keep up with and make different voices for every single time. So he's doing an excellent job. Just the experience though has been really amazing to see this series come to life in a new-to-me way. At number 2 is the THEMIS FILES series by Sylvain Neuvel. Again, this is another series. There are currently 2 books out in it. They're called Sleeping Giants and Waking Gods, and this is an adult science fiction series about these giant objects have been found buried all around the world, and when people put them together, they make up this large human-ish statue, but it's not completely human. And so this story is following a bunch of different characters that are working on figuring out what this statue is. Like, it follows some of the people who found it, some of the people, like the scientists that are researching it, the military as they are trying to acquire it and figure out what it is. And that's just the main question, is what is this thing, what does it do, and who buried it here? Both of these audiobooks are narrated by a full cast. Like, it's a very large list of voice actors that work on these books. It's very well acted in my opinion. I love having the different narrators for each character. It doesn't have like sound effects, so it's not as full of a production as something like the Illuminae books, which I know are really talked about their audio formats, but I think there would still be a lot of appeal to you. If you liked the Illuminae audiobooks, you definitely got to check out the THEMIS FILES series on audio. Like, it's amazing. And the reason why I love these audiobooks so much, or another reason, because there's many reasons. I love the story itself, but if you get a copy of the print books and you look at it, you will realize that the entire book is told in all dialogue. You have audio files written out in the print book of interviews between 2 characters, or sometimes you do have like radio reports that have been transcripted. Sometimes you have audio diary entries of these people describing what they're doing as they're working on this figure. So everything in the book that's written is meant to be in audio pretty much. So that's why this is another book that works so well as an audiobook, because it was made for this format. And just having that full cast brings it to life, makes it such a full story. I honestly, like, as much as I love this story, I can't imagine that I would like it as much as I do if I had read the print versions. But oh, these audiobooks are absolutely incredible. I can't stop recommending them. If you're looking for an audiobook to pick up and you haven't tried this one already, get on it. It is so amazing. And it was tough to not put the THEMIS FILES in my top slot, but my top favorite audiobook of the year is gonna go to Before the Devil Breaks You by Libba Bray. And in fact, I would recommend the entire series on audiobook, because all the books in this series are narrated by the same narrator, January LaVoy. It is a YA paranormal / fantasy / historical / science fiction series. It's quite a mashup of these characters who have supernatural abilities, and they basically find themselves investigating different mysteries. And there's like ghosts and stuff like that in the series. And the reason that this one is getting top spot is because of the narration. This series has a very large cast of characters, and yet the audiobooks have a single narrator, and I have never listened to an audiobook with one narrator who has done such an amazing job at voicing all of the characters in such distinct voices, to the point like I never question who is talking. She switches between like 10 different voices in one scene when these characters are all together. And not only does she do incredible voice work for our main characters, she brings everything up a notch because sometimes the books include songs that are sung and January LaVoy makes up her own tune and she sings them. She also does accents and the slang of the time period, which this is set in 1920s New York. She voices like the ghosts and the bad guys and stuff in like this eerie way, and she just injects personality and emotion into the narrative itself. Like, she was meant to tell this story. You guys gotta listen to these audiobooks if you're interested in this series at all. Seriously, the audiobooks are the way to go. But honestly, you won't be missing out if you read the print formats because the story is just amazing in and of itself. But she's got to get my top slot because I think she's such an incredibly talented narrator. I will listen to her reading a grocery list. Like, just read more things to me, January LaVoy, please. So those are my favorite audiobooks that I have listened to in 2017. I hope you guys have enjoyed this list or found something new to try out on audio. If you guys listen to audiobooks, I would love to know your favorite of the year as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the comments. Bye!